recorded.
Does everybody know the names Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lashinsky? I mentioned them earlier. They were gunned down yesterday in front of the Jewish Museum. That, by the way, was converted into a museum. It was the first synagogue in Washington, D.C. It was, what's the word? Initiated, ordained, consecrated. 1869, and Ulysses S. Grant was the president that visited the temple. First temple in Washington, D.C., later turned into the Jewish Museum. Yaron Lashinsky worked for the Israeli government. He was the son of a Jewish father and a Christian mother. He was an observant Christian. He was Israeli. Sarah was an American. She was also an Israeli. She was Jewish. They were about to be engaged, and they were going to be married. Sarah had 2 master's degrees. One from a university here, the other one, and I didn't even know this existed, it was the University of Peace, United Nations University of Peace. Both of them were working for the benefit of getting Palestinians and Israelis together. That's what they were doing, in different capacities. The person, I don't even know if I want to use the word person, the life form that killed them in cold blood was waiting for somebody to come out of that museum and gun them down, shouting, "Free Palestine." Now, a couple of weeks ago, for those of you who are here that may remember, we did a sermon that was based on a verse in the Torah, in the Parsha Kedoshim, chapter 19, verse 60. Do not go up and down peddling false tales. Help your fellow when they are in trouble. Do not hate your fellow. That free speech can lead to mob rule, and that's exactly what happened. Mob rule. Now, let me give you another name you may or may not be familiar with. Mohammed Khalil. This is a guy who was a student. He is on a student visa, has been in this country since, I think, 2017. The current administration is taking a very hard line on anti-Semitism. Now, you may agree, you may disagree with that, and you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I have told you I do not get political, and I do my best not to. But when it intrudes, when situations of Judaism intrude, then I'm going to call it like it is, and that's what I'm going to do. Now, some people think it is unlawful, disrespectful, whatever word you want to use, to send the guy out of the country because of his participation in anti-Semitic activities, mainly, what do you want to call them, demonstrations? Okay? They suggest he should have due process. And you know what? I think he should. And let me tell you why. I think this guy should have due process because I read an opinion piece. And I'm going to use the word alleged because I have not checked this out. But the person that wrote this opinion piece said this person is not a person who merely participated in activities or led demonstrations. He has said, F Israel. He's on record of doing that. He's on record of saying Zionists must die. Now I say, give him due process and bring all that to court. Let's see it. Let's expose it. So you can tell I'm real fired up about this. I'm very passionate about it. And in a way, I feel like somebody has to because, we've been around for 4,000 years and we've survived the worst persecution. And here we go again. We had a Holocaust not more than 80 years ago. And here it is again. When you have people on campus demonstrating, putting Jewish students, making them feel unsafe, so they have to shelter in place in a library and put chairs on the door so they don't get hurt, That reminds me of Kristallnacht. You know what Kristallnacht is? This began the Holocaust. This is when the Germans started breaking the windows of Jewish shops in Germany. That's what Kristallnacht, breaking the glass night. That's what it means. So I say, let this guy have his day in court. And then you know what I think ought to happen? Let's back off a little bit. First Amendment gives us two things that we're all familiar with. It gives us the freedom of speech. And it gives us the right to observe our religion as we see fit, which we as Jews do. Now, let's go back to this whole freedom of speech. Okay? Everybody's guaranteed your ability, and the founding fathers did this because they came from governments and states that curtailed free speech because they didn't want to be criticized. So they said, no, you need to be able to express yourself and express yourself against the government. Okay, let's get real controversial here. Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Do we have the right to bear arms? Yes, we do. Okay? What happens if a gun person sells a gun to somebody who shouldn't have a gun? Somebody with a record? Somebody who's mentally unstable? What happens? They get in trouble for selling the gun. They get sued. The manufacturer gets sued. A doctor prescribes medications over and above. What happens? They're held responsible. They get sued for doing their job, for overdoing their job. Somebody goes into McDonald's, remember this? Buys a cup of coffee, spills it on their lap, burns themselves, and what happens? McDonald's owes them millions of dollars. Somebody gets in a van, a foreign student, this happened in the 70s, gets in a van, puts it on cruise control, gets up, goes to the back, and crashes. They sued the car manufacturer, and guess what? They won. If you are instigating demonstrations that hurt Jewish students, I say you're responsible. You want to practice free speech, it comes with a responsibility. You don't get to say anything you want to say without any consequence. You get sued, you get put in jail for instigating. You are complicit. This person, I think his name was Elias Rodriguez, is that right? This 31-year-old, supposedly he was on his own. He wasn't on his own. He was online looking at hate literature, getting all fired up against genocidal Jews that are killing innocent Palestinians, and he decided to take action. The people that he saw, as far as I'm concerned, have a responsibility. Mob rule, they instigated. Now, I'd like to say that, everybody has people have minds, right? We're sentient beings. We think. God gave us frontal lobes so we can figure this stuff out. So if you are going to buy in to the hateful rhetoric, it's not just your responsibility. Because what mob rule does, it makes it okay. Right? You've probably seen this as teenagers. Kids go in, they get into trouble, right? They don't do it on their own. They do it with a gang. They do it with their friends. They get egged on. Come on, you can do it. We're all in this together. People that wouldn't even dream of doing this, they get with a gang, they get with a bunch of kids, peer pressure. Next thing you know, they're a criminal. I saw this happen in college and fraternities. People do something, one person wants to do something stupid, they all follow along. Lemmings, right? They jump off a cliff. One of them jumps off a cliff. They all jump off a cliff. That's what happens. So there's a responsibility here as far as I'm concerned. And these people need to be held accountable. So whatever your opinion is, whatever your political posture is, and again, I don't fault anybody for their political leanings. I think you're all right, whatever you believe, because this is America, and we need to have a plurality. We need to have different opinions. That's how things get done with different input. But there's a place where you cross the line. These people crossed the line. They need to be held responsible. Look at what's going on in the world today. I think somebody pointed out this is the 5th anniversary of the George Floyd killing. Is that right? Anybody hear that? Because I know it was on the news today. Remember George Floyd? He was killed, however you want to phrase it, by the police. People are in jail. People were sued. There was mass uprisings. There have been no uprisings for us. No Jews have gone on and broken any buildings, destroyed any campuses. We haven't done that. That's not who we are. But we shouldn't take this lying down. Lawfare, I believe that's the new term, lawfare. That's how we need to fight this. Now, you would expect better behavior from people that are in colleges. But apparently that's not happening. These people are ignorant. Now you know what they say about stupidity. Can't fix stupid, I've heard that. Because somebody who is stupid doesn't know. They don't have the capacity. The word ignorance comes from the word ignore. It means you are choosing not to acknowledge reality. You are choosing, you're ignoring it. You're ignoring the fact that in 2005, Ariel Sharon, the prime minister, ordered the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, to go into Gaza and pull all the settlers out because we're giving it to the Palestinian Authority. You want a country? Here it is. This is our peace gesture. 2 years later, Hamas took over. They were given aid. They had infrastructure. They had hospitals. They had running water. They had sanitation. What did they do with the materials? They built tunnels. They fired missiles at Israeli students, kids. First it was 200, then it was 400, then it was 600. And then this happened. October 7th, 2023 happened. Nobody should be surprised. These people came in. They attacked civilians that would have supported their cause. They were not in uniform. They were not an army. They were terrorists. They were murderers. They kidnapped people. They brought them back. They tortured them. They killed them. They raped women. And people are feeling sorry for them. Resistance. You see a video on TikTok or whatever it is now, we have some idiot in a kafia going on about anything resistance. That person needs to be held accountable. That is hate speech. You are instigating a mob. You go to jail or you get sued. That's the way I feel. Some people may not like what I'm saying. I may have crossed the lines around. You know what? It is what it is. Somebody's got to do it. We have to stand up for ourselves. The Ontario police, up until the other day, had a police car sitting in the parking lot because they anticipated some type of anti-Semitic incident. They were right. It did. It didn't happen here. But who knows? Because one person sees what this guy did, and guess what? Yep. Anybody get emails from the Jewish Federation or the security network like I did? Because it's all over. The ADL, be alert, be aware. We had somebody come to the door. I'm Jewish. I want to come in. Nope. But I'm Jewish. No. No, we don't know you. Honor the stranger. Sorry. You live by the Torah. That takes precedence. I'm not going to let you in. I'm not going to let you in. I don't know who you are. Call me during the week and we'll talk. But I'm not letting you in. Can't risk it. Sorry. Because the guy that shot these two people, it was raining. He walked into the museum and he looked disheveled. What did people do? They walked, are you okay? Everything all right? You want a towel? And then he admitted that he shot them. This is who we are. We want peace. We practice peace. You know? How many times have we opened our hands to these people? You have Jews that are saying, yeah, let them go. Free speech. We're learning a lesson. You know? All right, I'm going to close this. Go on all night. I almost thought about getting my own computer and going live on Facebook because I am just so fired up about this. you know? Anyway, let me end with a message of hope, because I think that's important. And it's not contrived, it really is. We will prevail. I say this all the time, and I know we will. I know we will. I know that unfortunately these two people are martyrs, and they've made the case that we have to clamp down on anti-Semitism. That's what this person did for us. We told you, and there it is. And I would almost guarantee, going forward, things are going to get a little bit better for us, because things are going to get harsher for people like that. You see, you will. And God is with us. God is with us. God will see that these people are punished. I promise you. So, and we will prevail, like we always have, like we always will.